The second part of clarity is key results. And key results are 3, maybe 4 overriding results that you want to see in your business. And then 1 or 2 SMART goals to measure the success of achieving those results. So we're going to spend a few minutes and talk about what those key results are and why they are so important to building a great business. The second part of clarity is key results. And key results are 3, maybe 4 overriding results that you want to see in your business. And then 1 or 2 SMART goals to measure the success of achieving those results. So we're going to spend a few minutes and talk about what those key results are and why they are so important to building a great business. Once we have that mission and vision, where we're going, now we need to benchmark. What is benchmarking about? It's about accountability. All you know is your experience and beliefs. So if you're running a business, you work in a business, you don't really know how well that business can perform. You only know how you performed and how you've performed in the past. What you have to do is reach out and benchmark your industry. Find out what the best in your industry are doing in the metrics and KPIs that you're following. Go back and look at your best quarters or your best years. Benchmark the best, not the average. And a lot of industry benchmarking is average. You want to be better than that. You want to benchmark the best in your industry. What will happen is these numbers will shock you. So you'll see it. The gaps, you'll see the gaps between where you are and where the best are, and that gets you to start owning it. Now I'm going to own this. And then ask, how else can I do these things? What are the best practices? Once you find out somebody's doing a number that's twice as good as your number, your first question is going to be, how the hell do they do that? And that's where best practices come in. That'll help you solve these gaps and fill these gaps. And then you can take action and do it. And do the things you need to do that you've learned to be able to solve the problems and be the best in your industry. That's what benchmarking can do for you. Once you've done the benchmarking, you can then zero in on the 3 to 4 key results that are real clear and very simple, understood by everyone in your organization. And then a metric or a goal, SMART goal, to measure and accomplish that key result, and then measure and see how well we're accomplishing that key result. What is the success we're having, and what are the gaps we have to fill to be able to reach that key result that we set. So a key result is some examples, maybe recurring revenue, ideal customers, satisfaction, safety. It could be customer satisfaction, other things, but it's the key result we're trying to get. It's clear, it's understood by all, it's continuously being discussed and used. And then with each one of those, we need a SMART goal, specific, measurable, someone accountable, realistic, and a time frame on it. So in the case of recurring revenue, we want to grow 10%, or we want to hit $1.2 million in gross profit. Ideal customers, we want 25 new ideal customers this year. Satisfaction, we want a net promoter score that measures customer satisfaction to be greater than 76. In safety, we want to have less than 1 incident per year. So those are ways to look at key results that are very understandable. The more you talk about them and explain them and people know them, everyone in your organization should know what those 3 or 4 key results are that are really going to drive our business to where we want to go. And then each one will be attached a goal that will be actually measured and looked at and tracked, and everyone knows what that goal is that we need to meet to be able to hit the key result that we're looking for. So as I said, everyone needs to understand it, and remember, everyone needs to be engaged and aligned. So when we got the right people and we've got clarity, we've got this key result that we're looking for, as well as our mission and our purpose. So an example of a key result, a motorcycle manufacturer, when they went around and asked these guys in the plant, what's your job? And before they set these key results, a guy was a welder. He says, I'm a welder and I put handlebars on frames. After they sat down, built a plan, built their mission, built their purpose, and came up with their results, They said afterwards, the guy said, my job is to deliver 50 bikes a day. I do that by doing 210 wells with 0 defects in an 8-hour day. So he was able to take how he actually aligned with the overall key result of the manufacturer, which was an increase of 10% in production. That was their result. The result was more, higher production, and the goal was 15%. And when they got down to the guy in the job putting handlebars on, he knew exactly what the key result was, and he had metrics that he knew he had to do to be able to align to the company's key results and the company's goal. Another example is a hospital. Their key results were volume, safety, satisfaction, cost control. The goal for volume was to reduce diversions by 33%. They found when they got in, they saw the problem, they saw where they wanted to go, they took ownership for it, and they sat down as a group and they started trying to solve the problem, seeing it, owning it, and now solving it. What do we think? What do we think we need to do to be able to increase the volume to the rate we wanted to do? And they found that it was by reducing diversions to their emergency room. And they went through a lot of conversations about how to do that, but everybody in the company knew that that's what our volume was, our key result. We need to reduce diversions by 33%. And a long story short, but they basically found that by clearing the decks at 5 o'clock from non-emergency issues and holding that space open, that most of the people coming for emergency room visits came between 5 and 7 o'clock. So they started opening that space up so they could take more and more people instead of diverting them to other hospitals. Another example was Chili's. They worked with the people at Chili's, the corporation, and they went out to Kansas City. They just happened to go to a Chili's to eat, and they asked the waitress, what's your key results? She said, guests, profit, sales, and team. She just rattled them off. And they said, how do you measure that? Well, guests, she says, it's Jim, guest experience measurement. Our goal is 65 as a company, and we're running in this operation at 63. So how do you influence that? And she said, well, we do it with team. We don't have any bus boys, so every time I see a plate, I grab it. And she started going through 2-second lean kind of things that made them more efficient and able to do more with the people they had. Clear results. They were understood by everybody all the way out in Kansas City, and doing the job is getting the results. They found that when they got people to understand the results and people saw doing their job and things they did every day and how those tied into the results they were trying to get, it was a very powerful way to engage and empower people. A moment about those goals that we talked about, SMART goals. There's a story of 2 boys. They came up to a field and that tree was across there in the snow. And one of the boys turned to the other one and said, look, I bet you $5 I can walk to that tree in a straighter line and get there before you do. So the other kid said, okay, let's go. So they both took off. The kid that took the bet started walking, looking down at his feet and making sure that he put one foot in front of the other one to make sure he's walking in a straight line at that tree. The other boy took off, and he got there, of course, quicker and in a straighter line. He looked back, and the other kid was probably halfway there. So when the kid showed up, he turned around and looked back, and his path was all over the place, and of course it took him twice as long to get there. So the moral of the story is the kid that went right to the tree, he looked at the tree, didn't take his eyes off the tree, and walked right to it. That's the power of a goal. That's the power of seeing where you want to go, focused on it, and walk right to it. So what are goals? SMART goals. Goals are defined many different ways, but what we're talking about here are SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're numbers. One person can be accountable for them. They're realistic, and they have a time frame. And commitment is essential. These aren't targets. They're not forecasts. They're goals that we're going to do whatever it takes to achieve them. Time after time working with businesses, I ask them what their goals are, and I'll hear things like, we need to build a new marketing plan. We need to build a new website. Those are not goals. Those are rocks. Those are actions to achieve a goal. The goal is we will grow revenues by 15%, generate 200 new leads, and add 25 new ideal customers in 2013. That's a goal. That's a SMART goal. Those are SMART goals. These are actions that we need to take to be able to reach those goals. So the next step, ask your accountant, go to a university library, or ask your trade association for benchmarking information. Depending on your industry and your business, you can find it at one of those three sources. If you go to trade shows or go to other places where you get around people in your industry that aren't competitors, talk to them about sharing some numbers and doing some benchmarking together. Then define 3 to 4 key results that are crucial to the success of your company. What are those 3 or 4 key results? Examples that I gave you before. And then identify and set SMART goal for each one of them. What is a SMART goal and what should it be? And set it for an annual, and then we'll start setting for quarters. But I actually set a SMART goal for the next year based on those key results.